In a world where darkness overshadows the light, where corruption consumes the very heart of the empire, rises a boy who still believes in justice. His name is Tatsumi, an ordinary young man with an extraordinary will. He arrives in the Imperial Capital with dreams of becoming a hero, but instead, he discovers a truth that will change his fate forever. This is a story about hope igniting even in the deepest shadows. A story of pain, loyalty, betrayal, and the weight of every choice. A story where heroes are forged through sacrifice, and where no decision comes without a price. Today, I will take you through the entire journey, from the beginning to the very end. How Night Raid became the blade of revolution, how Tatsumi discovered his true purpose, and how every battle led to new losses and new sparks of hope. This is the complete retelling of Akame Kill. If you're ready to enter a world where truth demands blood, then let us begin. Episode 1. Kill the Darkness. Tatsumi arrives in the Imperial Capital with nothing but confidence and a dream. Moments earlier, he single-handedly slayed a Class 1 danger beast, an Earth Dragon, and believed this victory proved he was ready for greatness. But as he marches toward the city, soldiers warn him. The real monsters in the capital aren't beasts. They're humans with rotting hearts. Tatsumi ignores the warning, driven by the promise he made with his friends to earn money and save their starving village. The capital dazzles him at first, until reality hits like a punch to the gut. He's rejected by the military, mocked for his confidence, and told there's an economic depression with too many recruits. Moments later, he's tricked by a smiling woman who steals all his reward money after pretending to help him become an officer. Broke, alone, and betrayed, Tatsumi is left wandering the city with nowhere to sleep and no one to trust. As despair threatens to swallow him, a noble girl named Arya appears with angelic sweetness. She invites him home, offering comfort, food, safety, everything he desperately needs. Her family welcomes him with warm smiles and luxurious hospitality, and Tatsumi starts to believe he finally found good people in this rotten city. He tells them about his lost friends, Sayo and Ieyasu, and Arya promises to help him locate them using her family's connections. It feels perfect, almost too perfect. Night falls, and with it comes terror. Night Raid, the notorious group of assassins the capital whispers about, invades the mansion. Tatsumi panics. He believes Arya's family is innocent, so he grabs a weapon to defend them. Akame targets the guards first, slicing them apart with terrifying precision. Tatsumi stands in her way, determined to protect Arya at any cost. But against Akame, he's completely outmatched. Just when he thinks he's done for, Leon appears, the same woman who scammed him earlier. But this time, she grabs him and drags him to the shed behind the mansion. She tells him the truth he refused to see. Inside the shed lie blood-stained tools, chains, and the tortured body of Sayo. Nearby, Ieyasu is barely alive, poisoned and delirious. The noble family who saved Tatsumi were monsters. They kidnapped travelers from the countryside and tortured them for fun. The kindness was a mask. The mansion was a trap. Arya arrives and confesses everything with twisted pride. How she killed Sayo slowly, how village folk are filth, how their pain entertained her. And that's the final crack. Tatsumi doesn't hesitate. He executes Arya himself, not out of rage, but justice. The only justice this city seems to understand. Leone finishes off the parents. Ieyasu dies moments later, but not before telling Tatsumi Sayo never broke, even under unbearable agony. His last words shatter what's left of Tatsumi's innocence. Night Raid prepares to leave, but Leone stops and looks at Tatsumi, this broken kid who still stood up for what he believed was right. She invites him to join them. And in that moment, Tatsumi realizes the capital is rotten to its core, and the only ones fighting its corruption are the assassins he once feared. With nothing left but resolve, he steps forward into a new life, not as a hero of the Empire, but as the newest member of Night Raid. Episode 2. Kill the Authority. Tatsumi walks a razor's edge between the life he lost and the future he never asked for. His friends are gone, his hopes have crumbled, and now he stands surrounded by the very people he once thought were monsters. Night Raid aren't heroes, and they're definitely not saints. They're predators who smile as easily as they kill. Leon brings him to their hideout, and it becomes painfully clear. Here, he's not a guest, he's a potential corpse. Every glance, every comment reminds him that one wrong move, and he won't leave this place alive. Meeting the team feels like being thrown into a circus of killers. Mine greets him with icy contempt. Lubbock is a clown, but a dangerous one. Bulat is friendly, almost too friendly. And Akame, the girl who tried to slice him in half just hours ago, calmly eats a giant roasted beast and refuses to share because he's not a member yet. Then the chaos stops when Agenda walks in. The boss, calm, confident, terrifying in her simplicity. And the first person here he instinctively respects. She explains the truth behind Night Raid. They aren't champions of justice, they're the scalpel of a revolution. Their mission is to cut down the corrupt figures choking the country. Every kill is a small piece of a much bigger war. And now Tatsumi must decide, remain a victim of this broken empire, or become one of the assassins who will tear it down. But before he can become a killer, he becomes a cook, a cleaner, a fisherman. Akame's training is harsh, simple, and confusing. She doesn't teach with speeches. She teaches with assignments that break his pride and sharpen his instincts. Every chore is a hidden lesson. Every task is a quiet test meant to keep him alive. When the team receives a mission to eliminate Ogre and the corrupt merchant Gamal, something ignites inside Tatsumi. This time, he isn't driven by rage, he's driven by purpose. He steps forward, asking to take the job. They warn him. Overconfidence kills faster than any blade, but his mind is made up. Tatsumi confronts Ogre alone. By pretending to be a desperate recruit, he lures the monster into isolation. But when Ogre brags about torture, cruelty, and the innocent innocent people he plans to break next, something snaps inside Tatsumi. His strike is clean, precise, and deliberate. His first true assassination, not a moment of blind rage, but a conscious decision. Back at the hideout, he tries to act like the mission went perfectly. But Akame notices the wound he's been hiding out of pride, and for the first time, her cold mask cracks. All those pointless chores. The cooking, the hunting, the discipline. She assigned to him for one reason: survival. Tatsumi realizes she wasn't being cruel. She was scared of losing another comrade. And now, after his first mission, he's no longer a spectator or a temporary guest. He's officially a member of Night Raid. He feels belonging, and a path that maybe could change everything. Episode 3, Kill Your Cares. A quiet morning at the Night Raid hideout shatters when Bulat senses danger. 8 intruders, tribal assassins, slip into the forest, closing in on their base. For Tatsumi, it's a brutal reminder. He's still too new for this kind of chaos. But Bulat throws him straight onto the battlefield anyway. Feel the terrain. Trust your instincts. Before Tatsumi can respond, Bulat unleashes Incursio, an imperial arm that transforms him into an armored monster of raw power. The assassins attack, but Bulat becomes a one-man army. Steel, speed, crushing force, the invaders never stand a chance. Tatsumi can only watch, stunned, as Bulat tears through them with blinding efficiency. One survivor tries to escape, hoping to sell information about Night Raid's location. Leon ends him instantly, annoyance in her eyes. The capital never stops sending killers. After the fight, Tatsumi trains under Mine for the day, which turns out to be a nightmare. Mine oversleeps, yells at him for waking her, and drags him across the capital like he's her personal servant. She mocks him, belittles him, and orders him around. But Tatsumi soon realizes something sobering. The capital is drowning. Poverty, fear, government cruelty, everywhere he looks, people suffer in silence. Mine sees it clearly. Tatsumi is just beginning to understand. When thugs harass a young refugee girl, Tatsumi tries to step in, but Mine handles it with cold precision. She saves the girl, not for glory, but because she hates seeing others treated the way she once was. Little by little, Tatsumi sees the truth behind her sharp tongue. Beneath the attitude is someone shaped by cruelty, fighting so no one else has to endure what she did. Their mission begins that night. Target: Iokal, a corrupt relative of Minister Honest, a man who kidnaps and murders innocent women. Mine positions herself for a sniper shot with Pumpkin, her imperial arm that grows stronger when she's in danger. Tatsumi doubts she can hit the target from so far away, until she proves him dead wrong. She obliterates Iokal in a single shot, even with civilians cluttering the field, but their escape gets messy. The remaining mercenaries, elite fighters trained at the Empire's strongest martial arts temple, track them down. Mine reveals her past. Born to a mixed tribe on the western border, half foreign, hated by her village, her childhood was misery, and her loyalty to the Revolutionary Army comes from a simple promise: to build a world where kids like her never suffer again. Their last enemy appears, a former temple instructor who's fallen to corruption. Cocky, brutal, certain he'll collect a reward for killing Night Raid members. Tatsumi steps forward, protecting Mine without hesitation. Mine prepares Pumpkin for another shot, and her blast tears through the instructor, proving why she calls herself a genius sniper. When they regroup, the team confirms the mission's success. Tatsumi's battered, exhausted, but not broken. He protected Mine. He survived another night, and he proved, once again, that even if he's still new, he belongs with Night Raid. Episode 4, Kill the Imperial Arm Users. Night in the capital is a death sentence for the unlucky. Another pair of terrified civilians beg for mercy, but their killer isn't interested in mercy at all. This is the reintroduction of Zanku the Beheader, a former executioner who became addicted to killing. Once he crossed the line, he couldn't stop, and now he hunts the streets purely for the thrill of severing heads. Meanwhile, Tatsumi continues intense training with Akame, who sharpens every movement he makes. Their session ends when Agenda calls a briefing. Night Raid confirms the serial killer is Zanku, and worse, he wields a stolen Imperial arms. Agenda explains the origins of Imperial arms: ancient weapons forged with legendary metals and danger beast materials. Each one has unique powers, and battles between users often end with at least one of them dead. Tatsumi realizes this mission is far more dangerous than the last. Night Raid splits into teams to patrol the city. Tatsumi partners with Akame. As they walk the empty streets, Tatsumi asks about her sword Murasame and learns its horrifying rule. Even a tiny scratch kills instantly. Before he can process that, Zanku launches his attack and separates Tatsumi from Akame. Using his Imperial Arm Spectator, Zanku reads Tatsumi's thoughts like an open book. Every defensive move is predicted and mocked. Tatsumi is completely overwhelmed. The killer even describes how his head will look on display. Just as Zanku prepares to finish him, Akame arrives. The real duel begins. An Imperial Arms versus Imperial Arms fight. Zanku unleashes powerful illusions, forcing his opponent to see the person they love most. Tatsumi sees Sayo, but Akame sees someone she refuses to reveal. For a moment, the illusion freezes her completely, giving Zanku an opening. But Akame breaks through the illusion with sheer will. With one perfect strike of Murasame, she pierces Zanku's final hallucination. As the poison spreads, Zanku thanks her. Death finally silences the voices haunting his mind. Returning to base, Tatsumi reflects on Akame's strength and his own weakness. When he asks who she saw in Zanku's illusion, she quietly answers that everyone in Night Raid is precious to her, including him. It's the first moment Tatsumi truly feels he belongs with them. Episode 5, Kill the Dream. Tatsumi wakes from a nightmare of losing Sayo and Ieyasu again, only to find Shield standing over him. Today, she'll be his trainer. While the others joke about Tatsumi being popular with older women, Shield starts guiding him through assassin training. Despite her clumsy nature, she teaches him to swim in heavy armor and helps him understand his weaknesses. Slowly, Tatsumi realizes she's nothing like the cold-blooded assassin he imagined. There's gentleness beneath her awkwardness. As they continue training, Shield opens up about her tragic past. Mocked her whole life as useless, she only ever had one friend who treated her kindly. One day, that friend's violent ex tried to kill her, and Shield killed him in self-defense, discovering she was unnervingly calm while doing it. Soon after, the man's friends murdered her parents, and Shield slaughtered them all in return. That was the moment she realized her talent, killing evil people. The Revolutionary Army later recruited her as an assassin. Tatsumi realizes that even the most gentle members of Night Raid carry deep scars. Tatsumi then receives a chance to try Zanku's Imperial Arms. Spectator. The team explains its mental strain and unique abilities, but when Tatsumi tries activating it, the weapon rejects him instantly, nearly overwhelming his mind. Agenda decides to send it for further study. Tatsumi is disappointed, but he also understands that Imperial Arms choose their wielders. The bond must be genuine. During a lesson about Imperial Arms, Tatsumi wonders whether one of them could bring Sayo and Ayasu back from the dead. Shield gently stops him. Resurrection is impossible. Hearing this crushes Tatsumi emotionally, and he finally breaks down. Shield comforts him, promising she won't tell anyone and urging him to let himself cry. Their bond deepens, and Tatsumi realizes she's found strength not through pride, but through compassion. Meanwhile, far from Night Raid, the Empire showcases its monstrous strength. General Esdeath finishes conquering the northern tribes with terrifying efficiency, burying armies alive. Even the Emperor and Minister Honest acknowledge her overwhelming power. As political unrest spreads and two generals defect to the rebel forces, the minister orders Esdeath to return and hunt down Night Raid personally. The tension across the Empire rises. A storm is coming. Back in the capital, Leone guides Tatsumi through her old neighborhood, a lively but dangerous district where she grew up. However, Tatsumi gets separated and accidentally encounters Seiryu, a cheerful member of the Imperial Guard. She introduces her bizarre Imperial arms, Hecatoncheires, Koro, a creature that only obeys those with absolute justice in their hearts. Though friendly on the surface, Seiryu's fanatic devotion to justice is unsettling. Tatsumi senses danger, especially when she casually mentions feeding death row prisoners to her pet. Later, during training, Seiryu vows to destroy Night Raid out of revenge for Ogre, unaware that he was a corrupt tyrant. Her mentor offers her a trump card, a dangerous experiment that will hurt like hell. Seiryu accepts instantly, driven by blind righteousness. The episode closes on her twisted sense of justice and growing obsession. She will hunt Night Raid to the ends of the earth. Episode 6, Kill the Absolute Justice. Night Raid's newest mission brings Tatsumi and Leone into the capital's red light district, a place crawling with corruption. Leone teases Tatsumi for being nervous, but the mood darkens when they witness a trafficking ring abusing kidnapped girls. Leone recognizes one of them as a friend from her past, and that's all it takes. The assassins launch an all-out attack, cutting through the traffickers who use women like disposable property. Their brutality disgusts Tatsumi and fuels his resolve. Leone promises the surviving girls will be treated by a retired doctor she trusts. Beneath her wild personality, Tatsumi sees her compassion clearly for the first time. As the mission wraps up, Leone flirts shamelessly, claiming she's already marked Tatsumi as hers. Meanwhile, another Night Raid pair, Shield and Mine, finish tracking down Shibariku, a cautious criminal leader. But their victory is cut short when a new foe appears. Imperial Guard Seiryu Ubiquitous. Unlike other soldiers, Seiryu masks her presence completely, and she arrives overflowing with righteous fury. She recognizes Shield and Mine as wanted assassins, and declares she will punish their evil in the name of absolute justice. Her companion Koro, an organic Imperial arms, snarls beside her, a beast that regenerates endlessly unless its hidden core is destroyed. The battle erupts violently. Mine fires first, but Seiryu's Tonfa guns and Koro's overwhelming regeneration make it nearly impossible to land a fatal hit. As Koro bulks up, turning monstrous, he crushes Shield and pressures Mine relentlessly. The fight spirals out of control when Seiryu uses her trump card, unleashing Koro's berserk mode. A horrifying transformation that pushes both assassins into a corner. Mine desperately searches for the creature's hidden core, while Shield fights with everything she has to protect her partner. When Mine is seconds from being killed, Shield makes her choice. She throws herself into the attack, sacrificing both her arms to block a fatal strike aimed at Mine. Despite being gravely wounded, Shield uses the last of her strength to activate her Imperial arms, extase, and tear through Koro's defenses, giving Mine the opening she needs to escape. But her sacrifice costs her everything. Seiryu fires a final, devastating shot that strikes Shield directly. In her last moments, Shield reflects on how Night Raid was the first place she ever felt she belonged, and apologizes to Tatsumi for not being able to hold him again. She disappears into light, gone forever. Mine escapes, devastated. Seiryu, instead of mourning anything, celebrates, convinced justice has prevailed. She screams triumphantly, asking her dead father if he's proud. When Tatsumi and the team learn Shield has died, Tatsumi breaks down, furious and desperate for answers. He demands Mine tell him who killed her, ready to charge straight into revenge. But Akame stops him cold. Acting on emotion will only raise the body count. Night Raid members die knowing the risks, and Tatsumi must accept that too. Leone reassures him their fight continues, and when the time comes, Seiryu will be brought down. As the episode closes, Agenda reminds the team that Shield's death wasn't in vain. The Empire has witnessed their strength, and more Imperial arms users will inevitably appear, giving Night Raid a chance to seize new weapons and turn the tide of the coming war. Tatsumi returns home shattered but determined. He vows to grow stronger, to survive, and to make sure Shield's sacrifice wasn't meaningless. Episode 7, Kill the 3-1. General Esdeath returns triumphantly to the Imperial Capital after annihilating the Northern Tribe, her icy charisma terrifying even her own allies. She immediately donates her hefty war reward to her troops, proving she values strength and loyalty far more than wealth. When the Emperor offers her anything she desires, Esdeath shocks everyone. Instead of power or territory, she requests the chance to fall in love. It's a strange, almost unsettling moment. The Empire's most ruthless general suddenly chasing an emotion she's never understood. Meanwhile, Minister Honest prepares to unleash her as his personal weapon, certain that even her twisted ambition can be exploited. Before leaving, Esdeath instructs her elite squad, the Three Beasts, to carry out a brutal new mission. Back at Night Raid's hideout, Tatsumi remains crushed by Shield's death. Believing Akame has grown numb to loss, he assumes she's simply used to it. But Akame snaps, her calm mask shattering. She confesses that losing comrades destroys her every time. She only hides it because an assassin who hesitates can't survive. Behind her cold precision is a heart breaking under the weight of repeated loss. Tatsumi finally understands. Every member of Night Raid carries wounds as deep as his own. The next day, driven by guilt and determination, Tatsumi trains relentlessly. Bulat pushes him to fight with intention instead of raw strength. While they spar, a new wave of assassinations sweeps through the capital. A retired official supporting the revolutionary cause is murdered alongside his daughter, and the Empire immediately blames Night Raid. Najenda realizes the truth. Esdeath has begun a political purge. Her secret strike force, possibly armed with Imperial arms, is eliminating key figures before the rebellion can gain momentum. Night Raid is being framed to destroy their reputation and justify harsher retaliation. To counter the purge, Najenda splits the squad across several missions. Tatsumi is paired with Bulat and assigned to guard a high-value political ally aboard the massive cruise ship Zuryusen. The ship is luxurious, crowded, and vulnerable, a perfect hunting ground for assassins. As they board, Bulat reveals his past. Once a rising star in the Empire's military, he was forced out after refusing to take bribes from Minister Honest's new corrupt regime. The moment he rejected corruption, his own soldiers turned against him. Only Incursio allowed him to escape. Hearing this, Tatsumi gains a deeper respect for the man he's training under. Suddenly, a haunting flute echoes through the ship. Passengers collapse instantly, drifting into unconsciousness. The attack begins. Tatsumi struggles to resist, realizing the melody must belong to an Imperial arms. He's approached by Daidara, a brutal warrior wielding twin axe-type Teigu, boasting about the slaughter to come. Tatsumi holds him back as best as he can, but the difference in skill becomes painfully clear. Just before he's overwhelmed, Bulat appears, completely awake. To counter the flute's effect, he stabbed his own leg to override the hypnosis with intense pain. With surgical precision, Bulat cuts through multiple enemies in seconds. His legend as the 100-man slayer suddenly feels real, not exaggerated. Tatsumi watches, stunned, but the battle isn't over. As the ship shakes from the clash, a chilling voice calls out to Bulat, someone who clearly knows him well. The leader of Esdeath's kill squad steps forward, recognizing Incursio and calling Bulat by name. The tension spikes instantly. This isn't just an enemy. This is someone tied to Bulat's past, someone who once fought beside him and now intends to kill him. Their confrontation marks the beginning of a deadly duel that will change Tatsumi's fate forever. Episode 8, Kill the Three, 2. Bulat and Tatsumi find themselves locked in a deadly battle aboard an Imperial warship as General Esdeath's elite subordinates close in. The calm before the storm shatters when Bulat's past comes back to haunt him. His former comrade Liver now fights under Esdeath after she saved his life. What should have been a reunion between brothers in arms instantly turns into a clash of ideals, loyalty, and ironclad convictions. Tatsumi watches in disbelief as the two veterans prepare to settle everything with steel, blood, and Imperial arms. Liver reveals the terrifying power of his Imperial arm, Black Marlin, a weapon that manipulates water itself. Surrounded by the sea, he commands the battlefield with overwhelming superiority, unleashing torrents and serpentine water beasts that strike with crushing force. Bulat pushes back with all his strength, but the pressure of the ocean weapon slowly overwhelms him. Even injured, he refuses to retreat, fighting with the proud smile of a warrior who has already accepted his path. The duel intensifies. Liver unleashes monstrous attacks capable of shattering the ship and killing everyone aboard, but Bulat forces the battle into the air to minimize casualties, even if it means sacrificing his advantage. The two veterans trade blows that shake the ocean, fully aware that the fight can only end with one of them dead. Tatsumi attempts to help, but Bulat orders him to stay back. This is his battle, his past, his responsibility. Cornered, Bulat activates Incursio's trump card, a final enhancement that pushes the armor beyond its limits. Liver responds with his own deadly ace, a poison he injects into his bloodstream, weaponizing his very body. The two collide in a final, devastating clash. When the spray of blood settles, Liver collapses, defeated, but his poison has already spread through Bulat's body. Even in death, he struck a mortal blow. Barely standing, Bulat still tries to comfort Tatsumi, brushing off his mortal wounds as if they were nothing. He acknowledges Tatsumi's growth and reveals the truth. He joined Night Raid because of his own convictions. Not because he was forced. He believed in fighting for the people. He believed in a better world. And now he believes in Tatsumi. With trembling hands, he passes him the key to Incursio, entrusting Tatsumi with the legendary armor, and with the future he can no longer reach. Tatsumi is forced to put on Incursio in the middle of battle as another enemy unleashes a monstrous trump card, transforming into a towering brute with overwhelming strength. Despite fear and doubt swirling inside him, Tatsumi remembers Bulat's words. The armor responds to his spirit, reshaping itself and revealing Tatsumi's hidden potential. With rage, grief, and determination burning inside, he defeats the enemy in a final explosive clash, Bulat's last gift guiding his every strike. When the battle ends, Tatsumi collapses beside Bulat, too late to save him. The proud warrior dies with a smile, asking Tatsumi to keep moving forward. Tatsumi, broken and sobbing, promises to become strong enough to honor Bulet's legacy and master Incursio fully. Meanwhile, far away, Esdeath forms a new elite unit to crush Night Raid, and among the chosen stands someone who ominously hints at a reunion with a familiar big sister. Episode 9. Kill the Battle Fanatic. After the warship battle, Night Raid tries to recover, though the loss of Bulat still hangs over everyone. Tatsumi throws himself into harsh training, pushing his body to its limits as he learns to control Incursio, a Teigu that feels alive, heavy with Bulat's will. Mine and Leon help him adapt, mixing guidance with constant teasing to keep his morale up. Najenda departs for Revolutionary HQ with the Teigu taken from Esdeath's three beasts, leaving Akame in command and warning the team that the Empire won't hesitate to strike again. At the rebel headquarters, Najenda is informed that the destruction of the three beasts saved thousands of future soldiers from being slaughtered. She relays Bulat's final message, that Tatsumi possesses extraordinary potential and could one day surpass him. This becomes a turning point for Tatsumi's resolve. Meanwhile, Esdeath remains unfazed by the loss of her elite soldiers. Calling it survival of the fittest, she immediately begins rebuilding her forces, ordering the formation of a brand new squad made entirely of deadly Teigu users. The new recruits arrive: Wave, a cheerful naval soldier with a good heart; Run, calm and elegant; Kurome, quiet but unsettling; Bowles, a masked executioner feared across the Empire; Seryu, the justice-obsessed fanatic; and Dr. Stylish, a mad scientist obsessed with beauty through modification. Wave tries to bond with them, but quickly realizes he's surrounded by unstable killers who follow the Empire without question. Esdeath enters without warning, her presence instantly freezing the room. She tests Wave with a surprise attack, impressed by his reflexes, then announces the name of their new elite unit, the Jaegers, the Empire's strongest counterforce against Night Raid. They share a celebratory meal using the seafood Wave brought, but Esdeath's thoughts drift to a different hunt entirely, finding a man who can match her heart and strength. Meeting with the minister, Esdeath explains her ideal partner, someone pure-hearted, strong, born outside the capital, and young enough for her to shape. The martial arts tournament becomes her hunting ground, the perfect place to spot promising fighters. In the bustling arena, fighters clash for the prize money. Tatsumi, disguised as a blacksmith's apprentice, enters to test his growing strength. Against the brutish Kalbi, the butcher, Tatsumi easily dominates with newfound speed and confidence. The crowd roars as he wins, a rare moment of pride and normalcy amid chaos. But that moment vanishes in seconds. Esdeath descends into the arena like a queen claiming her prize. The entire stadium falls silent as her eyes lock onto Tatsumi. With a smile equal parts charming and terrifying, she declares him her reward. Before he can escape, she grabs him, lifting him off his feet, and announces he now belongs to her. Tatsumi panics, unsure whether she recognizes him as a Night Raid member, or whether he simply matches every box on her twisted ideal man list. Night Raid watches helplessly as Tatsumi is dragged away. Akame quickly stops anyone from rushing into a suicide mission, but she promises they will save him. The team prepares to relocate and plan their next move, while Tatsumi is led deeper into the palace, alone, unarmed, and now the personal captive of the Empire's most terrifying general. Episode 10. Kill the Temptation. Tatsumi's first mission as a Jaeger recruit begins with a brutal reality check. The team storms a bandit fortress, and he witnesses firsthand how far the Empire's elite enforcers will go when justice is their justification. Wave, enthusiastic and earnest, tries to bond with him, unaware that Tatsumi is desperately planning his escape. Surrounded by lethal killers and unpredictable Imperial arms, he realizes every second he stays is a gamble with death. As the chaos intensifies, Tatsumi crosses paths with Kurome, Akame's cold, eerily detached little sister. While Wave seeks camaraderie, Tatsumi seeks a chance to run. But that chance vanishes when Esdeath, obliviously cheerful and terrifyingly powerful, showers him with affection. She treats the battle like a playground and Tatsumi like a destined soulmate, leaving him cornered emotionally and physically. Later, Tatsumi finds himself alone with Esdeath, trapped not by chains, but by her obsession. She tries to seduce him into embracing her worldview. The strong rule, the weak perish. He pushes back, desperately trying to reach whatever humanity lies beneath her icy cruelty. He even invites her to join the Revolutionary Army, hoping against hope that love might change her heart. When she finally sleeps, Tatsumi attempts to breathe, only to wake up cuddled against her the next morning. Escape seems impossible. Esdeath proudly announces to the Jaegers that Tatsumi is not only a reserve member, but her future lover. The team reacts in confusion and awkward sympathy, while Tatsumi battles panic under her intense gaze. Even Wave tries giving Esdeath advice on romance, a surreal moment in a nest of killers. The group heads into the wilderness for a joint hunting mission. Tatsumi and Wave patrol together, unexpectedly bonding in the process. Wave's kindness and earnestness remind Tatsumi of himself, or rather, who he used to be. But the moment danger beasts attack, Tatsumi sees his chance. He slips away, running into the forest with every scrap of strength left. For the first time since his capture, escape feels possible. But fate throws him straight into the path of Wave, armored in the gleaming Grand Chariot. Wave believes he's chasing a dangerous enemy. Not realizing it's the same boy he just bonded with, Tatsumi dons Incursio, and their clash becomes an accidental duel of rivals and near friends. He doesn't want to fight. Wave refuses to let him flee. Their Imperial arms collide in a storm of steel and instincts until Tatsumi finally breaks away using the river's current. Exhausted, wounded, and moments from death, Tatsumi faces a roaming danger beast, only to be saved at the last second by Akame. Her relief is palpable, her words soft, and for the first time in days, Tatsumi feels safe. Meanwhile, Esdeith's fury is quiet but chilling. She orders punishment for her subordinates, gives permission to kill Tatsumi if necessary, yet whispers to herself that she will win him back. Her love is as merciless as her blade, and she vows their paths will cross again. At Night Raid's base, Tatsumi shares everything he learned about the Jaegers, their Imperial arms, their personalities, and most importantly, Esdeith's terrifying devotion. The battle lines sharpen, the storm approaches. Episode 11, Kill the Mad Scientist. Night Raid barely has time to celebrate Tatsumi's safe return before disaster arrives at their doorstep. Dr. Stylish, the twisted scientist serving the Empire, launches a surprise assault on their hideout. Enhanced soldiers swarm the base like a wave of insects, sliding through cracks and shadows no human should fit through. The team scrambles to regroup as Stylish's grotesque creations tear into their defenses. What was meant to be a night of rest becomes a battlefield drenched in chaos. Akame, Lubbock, and Tatsumi fight back with everything they have. But Stylish's puppets aren't ordinary enemies. Mechanical bodies, stitched flesh, and modified warriors move with unnatural resilience. Akame cuts down soldier after soldier, while Lubbock uses his strings to bind and crush enemies with a creativity that borders on insane genius. Yet stronger foes appear. Mechanical giants and enhanced killers who mock Night Raid as they fight. At last, a monstrous cyborg challenges Akame alone, forcing her into a deadly one-on-one duel. Meanwhile, Tatsumi faces another nightmare, the Scissor's Imperial arms, now in the hands of a brutal enemy. He learns just how easily his armor can be cut apart. The enemy taunts him, thrilled at the chance to dissect Incurzio's wearer. Night Raid pushes back, but the attackers multiply, spilling into the base faster than they can be killed. Stylish toys with his criminals like disposable toys, laughing as his pawns die by the dozens. He doesn't care. They're only raw material for his experiments. Just as Night Raid begins to falter, salvation tears through the sky. Former General Najenda arrives atop a massive flying danger beast, cutting through the enemy lines like a force of nature. With her are two new recruits, ready to fight for the rebellion. Stylish, delighted by the new test subjects, reveals his trump card, a poison gas that paralyzes every living being it touches. Night Raid collapses helplessly, one after another, all except Tatsumi inside Incurzio. The battle shifts again as his new comrade Susanoo counters the poison and obliterates wave after wave of enemies. Stylish refuses to admit defeat. Cornered, he mutates himself into a towering monster, merging with a danger beast to become a grotesque fusion of man and creature. His hunger grows with his size. He devours his own soldiers to fuel his transformation, swelling into an abomination that threatens to crush everything beneath him. Tatsumi carries Akame on his back as they rush into battle together, combining Incurzio's power with Murasami's deadly blade. Stylish mocks them, certain their weapons can't pierce his mutated flesh, but Akame sees the truth, a tiny weak point beneath the monstrous mass. Tatsumi creates an opening, and Akame delivers the decisive strike. Stylish falls, collapsing under the weight of his own twisted ambition. His last thoughts are of experiments unfinished, victims untested, a kingdom of horrors he'll never build. Night Raid stands bloodied, exhausted, but alive. One more threat destroyed, though at a heavy price. When silence finally returns to the forest, the team gathers and takes a breath. Another attack survived, another enemy fallen, but beneath the relief, emotions churn. Akame reflects on pain she has endured and the loneliness she carries. She hides her weaknesses, afraid to burden anyone. Episode 12, Kill the Newcomers. Night Raid relocates to the harsh Marg Highlands, a deadly region crawling with danger beasts, yet perfect for training and hiding from the Empire. Tatsumi, still adjusting to life as an assassin, tries to keep up as Najenda introduces two new teammates, the lightning-fast organic Imperial armed Susanoo and Chelsea, an assassin whose deceptively cute demeanor hides deadly skill. The group begins rebuilding, strengthening their base, and preparing for the inevitable war. Chelsea quickly shakes the team dynamic. With her shape-shifting Imperial arms and sharp tongue, she challenges mine, annoys Lubbock, and disrupts routine with playful arrogance. But beneath her teasing lies harsh truth. She sees danger where others don't, and warns Tatsumi that being careless only leads to death. Meanwhile, the Jaegers grieve the loss of Dr. Stylish. Seryu, already unhinged, breaks further as she swears vengeance on Night Raid for killing yet another of her twisted mentors. As Night Raid begins intensive training, Tatsumi and Susanoo develop a surprisingly strong bond. Despite his stoic, machine-like nature, Susanoo cooks, cleans, trains, and even scolds Tatsumi like an older brother. The team hunts danger beasts, honing their skills in the thin mountain air. Tatsumi proves he's grown stronger, strong enough that Najenda compares his potential to Bulat. But Chelsea's blunt words hit hard. Power alone isn't enough. Without discipline, anyone can die, no matter how heroic. Mine, still furious over Chelsea's harsh judgment of Shiel and Bulat, plots revenge, dragging Tatsumi into her antics. With Incurzio's invisibility, Tatsumi attempts a harmless prank on Chelsea, only to be instantly caught. Chelsea outmaneuvers him effortlessly, using deception to expose his aura and teach him a lesson. Survival depends on skill, not ego. Their conversation conversation turns unexpectedly sincere as Chelsea reveals her past, returning from a mission only to find her entire team slaughtered. She warns Tatsumi she never wants that to happen to Night Raid. Back in the capital, Death struggles with emotions she doesn't understand. She searches for soldiers who resemble Tatsumi, desperate for a substitute but unable to find one. Her obsession grows, mixing with the rising tension before the final confrontation with Night Raid. Meanwhile, the Empire continues strengthening its forces, preparing for a decisive strike. Far away, a new kind of danger beast is unleashed, a looming threat heading straight toward the capital. Night Raid continues to train, rest, and bond under the looming shadow of war. Chelsea watches Tatsumi closely, impressed by how much he's grown, not just in strength, but in heart. Though she hides behind sarcasm and tricks, she recognizes something in him, the courage to fight for others, even when the world keeps trying to break him. Their conversation in the night reveals the deeper truth. Kindness can be a weakness, but it can also be the reason someone keeps going. Episode 13. Kill the Nuisances. The Empire is shaken by rumors of a new breed of danger beasts. Creatures once confined to forests and mines, now breaking into homes and devouring civilians alive. Death is personally tasked with hunting them down, thrilled by the challenge. Meanwhile, the Jaegers continue serving the capital, showcasing their deadly efficiency as they protect terrified citizens from the monsters. Yet beneath their noble facade, each member carries shadows, guilt, trauma, and the weight of blood-stained duty. Wave struggles with the stark contrast between justice and cruelty. After witnessing Bowles save civilians with kindness, only to be judged for his appearance, Wave begins questioning everything. Bowles himself reveals a painful truth. He once burned entire villages on command, executing innocent people without hesitation. Despite that, his wife and daughter still love him unconditionally. Their support is what keeps him moving forward, even as karma looms over his every step. At Night Raid's new hideout, Susanoo and Tatsumi continue training. Susanoo teaches him the fundamentals of combat. Every enemy has a weakness. Every battle has an opening. Their bond grows stronger, with Susanoo acting as both mentor and companion. Night Raid relocates into a fortified new base, complete with traps, barriers, and even a hot spring. But Nagenda's orders come swiftly. They must hunt the same danger beasts ravaging the Empire, even if it means indirectly helping their enemy. Though some hesitate, Tatsumi speaks with conviction. Innocent people are dying, and Night Raid cannot ignore it. Nagenda agrees, sending the team into the wild. Humor breaks the tension when the group notices Tatsumi's unzipped pants, embarrassing him but briefly easing the weight of the mission. Beneath the jokes, however, Mine expresses fear. Tatsumi's heart is too kind, just like shields and bullets, and kindness gets people killed. Back in the capital, Esdeath receives crucial intelligence. The new danger beasts were once human. Someone, likely Dr. Stylish, or perhaps a hidden enemy, transformed them using forbidden techniques. If his secret experiments escaped after his death, then the horrors now roaming the countryside may only be the beginning. Esdeath vows to uncover the truth, even as doubt creeps into her normally unshakable heart. Elsewhere, Night Raid splits into squads to track the beasts. Lubbock confesses his long history with Nagenda, joining the army for her sake, rising through the ranks, and even faking his death just to follow her into rebellion. His eternal one-sided devotion becomes the subject of Mine's teasing, but their jokes fade as the mountains remain eerily silent. No animals, no beasts, no signs of life at all. Chelsea notices the serenity of the night sky, but admits she hasn't been herself lately. Her thoughts drift toward Tatsumi, confused, irritated, intrigued. Meanwhile, farther along the mountain ridge, a massive shadow looms. A danger beast appears, only to be obliterated in an instant. The attacker steps into view. Death. Tatsumi freezes. One moment of hesitation, and the woman who's been yearning for him suddenly stands before him, smiling with ice-cold affection. Tatsumi's world turns upside down the moment Death reappears before him, smiling, confident, and impossibly thrilled to see him again. That nearly drove her insane. Her iron will alone allowed her to conquer its madness and reshape her entire being around ice, power, and domination. Morning comes with one last hope. The portal that teleported them may reopen. Death prepares to tame a flying danger beast to escape, but the shimmering gate appears before Tatsumi can stop her. 15. Kill the religious organization. Night Raid barely has time to recover from their last battles when danger closes in again. The Jaegers storm a corrupt noble's mansion hoping to catch Chelsea, forcing her to escape by transforming and slipping through their fingers. The team reel closer with every encounter. Even moments of humor among Night Raid can't mask the tension building like a storm overhead. Everyone feels it. The Empire won't let them rest again. Nagenda gathers the full team for a briefing that will change everything. The doubt simmering on deadly confrontation begins. A battle not just of strength, but of everything they once were. Episode 16. Kill the Puppets. The battlefield erupts the moment Night Raid and the kill the curse. Consequences of the last clash reveal themselves. Kuromi barely escapes with her life, her enhancements wearing off as she collapses in the forest. Leone, bruised but unbroken, confirms her injuries aren't fatal. Night Raid lived through the encounter, but the shadows of what's coming loom heavier than ever. Saved them became a chain around her neck. Back in the present, Night Raid recovers at their hideout. Leone jokes about her missing arm, Mine complains about her pride being wounded, and Najenda keeps everyone focused. But tension rises when Tatsumi delivers terrible news. Chelsea left alone to finish Kurome. Najenda immediately sends reinforcements, Akame and Tatsumi, knowing that if Chelsea is caught, there will be no mercy. Their thoughts drift to Tatsumi, the boy she wanted to see smile one last time. Episode 18, Kill the Demon. Dawn breaks over Night Raid's hideout, but the morning feels heavy. Tatsumi wakes late, still carrying the weight of every battle and every friend he couldn't save. There's no room for hesitation. Their next mission is already set. The Path of Peace, a powerful religious faction, is rotting from the inside. Night Raid must infiltrate it, expose it, and cut down the corruption before it spills into the coming revolution. Each step now shapes the future of the country. Far away, a chilling force arrives at a wealthy estate tied to the faction. General Esdeath strides in with absolute confidence, flanked by 4 terrifying allies, the Rakshasa demons. They aren't Imperial arm users. They're executioners molded by brutal temple training and poison, able to twist and stretch their bodies like living weapons. Even the Jaegers feel uneasy. Wave, especially, watches Kurome struggle to stand. The drugs keeping her alive are eating her from the inside. But her greatest fear is still the same, to look weak. Meanwhile, Tatsumi, Mine, and Lubbock scout a distant town under the Path of Peace's control. On the surface, it looks calm and prosperous, until Mine points out the truth. The religion drains its believers dry, funneling every offering into Minister Honest's pockets. Counselor Baldic pretends to be a spiritual leader, but he's just another parasite feeding off the poor. Tatsumi finally sees how deep the Empire's corruption runs. It infects even worship and hope. Their investigation tightens when Lubbock spots a man whose stance, breathing, and steps scream trained killer. Following him reveals something even bigger, a hidden underground tunnel connecting the cemetery, the cathedral, and Baldick's mansion. It's the perfect path for Night Raid to strike, but also a sign that the enemy is already watching them. Akame is the first to be ambushed. Ibara, one of the Rakshasa, launches an attack with movements so unnatural they seem inhuman. His body contorts, bends, and snaps like a beast without bones. Akame is forced into a deadly dance, barely surviving with a devastating trick, stopping her own heartbeat for a moment to fake death, giving her the perfect opening to counter. Not far away, Lubbock faces 2 more Rakshasa, one armed with the terrifying world-severing string, threads sharp enough to slice stone. Taunted and pressured, Lubbock shifts the fight into his domain. Using crosstail, he sets traps mid-battle, manipulating distance and movement until the Rakshasa step right into their own demise. It's a victory born from strategy, not brute force, and it proves why Najenda trusts him. Mine and Wave's scouting continues, filled with constant bickering that somehow keeps them alive. Their argument stops abruptly when the founding lord of the Path of Peace appears, and immediately reveals his true nature. His holy ritual is nothing more than exploitation dressed as faith. But before anything worse happens, a panicked messenger bursts in with devastating news. 3 Rakshasa demons are dead. Baldick's confidence shatters. Fear spreads through the manor. Night Raid isn't approaching. Night Raid is already inside the walls, already executing their plan. For the first time, the oppressors understand the truth. Night Raid doesn't make threats. They deliver justice. And tonight, justice is coming for the Path of Peace. Episode 19, Kill the Fate. The Empire's hunt for the Path of Peace's hideout drags on, stretching soldiers thin across the vast city of Kirikou. Tension rises with every passing hour. Even Esdeath's elite feel the strain, though Seryu Ubiquitous, driven by her warped sense of justice, seems more determined than ever. Meanwhile, the Revolutionary Army prepares a decisive strike timed with the upcoming festival, knowing the next move could reshape the entire war. Inside Night Raid's hideout, rare warmth fills the air as Susanoo serves a feast crafted lovingly for each member. Laughter breaks through the tension. Teasing, chatter, and small jokes momentarily erase the bloodshed of their world. Yet beneath the comfort lies unspoken fear. Every warrior knows the coming mission could claim lives. This gentle moment is precious precisely because it won't last. When the festival begins, Tatsumi and Mine slip outside the city to act as a diversion. Their banter is clumsy and filled with stubborn pride. Mine flusters, Tatsumi teases, but beneath it is a growing bond neither wants to admit. That moment of awkward peace shatters instantly when Seryu appears, eyes burning with fanatical hatred. Moments later, Suzuka of the Rakshasa demons joins the pursuit, turning the diversion into a deadly ambush. Tatsumi intercepts Suzuka, leaving Mine to face Seryu alone. Seryu unleashes Koro's monstrous phases, firing explosions and screaming about righteousness. Her idea of justice has twisted into something violent and cruel. She rages about fallen allies, blames Night Raid for everything, and pours her obsession into every attack. Mine holds the line, using Pumpkin's growing power to survive the relentless assault. Seryu's madness deepens. She mocks Mine, relishes the pain she believes she's delivering, and pushes Koro to regenerate endlessly. But Mine's resolve only hardens. She refuses to let another comrade die because she wasn't strong enough. She analyzes Koro's movements, forcing Pumpkin past its limits as she searches for the creature's core. Each shot shakes the battlefield, the clash of convictions growing fiercer by the second. In a final, desperate surge, Mine fires Pumpkin at maximum output, destroying Koro's core and shattering Seryu's last hope. Cornered and hysterical, Seryu activates a suicide device, screaming about justice until her final breath. The explosion nearly kills Mine, but she survives, battered, shaking, yet unbroken. Her victory isn't prideful. It's fueled by the desire to protect the people who still stand beside her. Tatsumi returns after defeating Suzuka, relieved to see Mine alive. She tries to hide her trembling voice, but he sees through her bravado. For once, Mine speaks honestly, not a confession, but a plea. She asks him to promise he'll survive the battles ahead, because the revolution is entering its darkest stage, and she no longer fights only for the cause, but for the people she refuses to lose. Episode 20. Kill the Carnage. The episode opens with panic spreading through the capital. Castles surrender without resistance, the rebel army advances, and even loyal generals begin questioning the Empire's leadership. Minister Honest, however, laughs it off. He has a new elite unit under his command, including his cruel and arrogant son Siura. While Budo, the great general, swears to defend the Empire with his life, the corruption at the center of the capital grows thicker than ever. Far from the palace, Night Raid regroups. The Jaegers weaken as members die or collapse under pressure, while Night Raid sharpens its resolve. Tatsumi, Mine, Lubbock, and the others lay out the final plan. Infiltrate the capital, slip into the palace, and assassinate Minister Honest before the death toll grows too high. The tension rises, not just from the mission, but the emotions boiling between Tatsumi and Mine, which their teammates tease relentlessly. Tatsumi and Lubbock move through the labyrinthine waterways beneath the capital, led by a resistance agent whose family was destroyed by the minister. She reveals that even inside the palace, there are officials secretly supporting the revolution. But before they can reach them, something is wrong. The coded signal is missing. Silence fills the hideout, until blood answers for it. Siura appears standing over the corpses, smiling with twisted pride. The trap has already been sprung. Siura confronts the two Night Raid assassins, boasting about his power and treating human lives like toys. His imperial arm, Shambhala, lets him teleport himself or his enemies anywhere he places a marker, and he's placed dozens throughout the capital. Tatsumi rushes him, but Sayura is unpredictable and cruel. In the chaos, Great General Budo arrives as well, electrifying the battlefield with overwhelming force. Night Raid is suddenly split. Tatsumi is thrown into a duel against Budo, while Lubbock faces Siura alone. Siura pushes Lubbock to the brink, teleporting around him, taunting him, threatening the woman he dragged into this mess. But Lubbock is no fool. He lays out invisible threads throughout the battlefield, slowly turning Sayura's own arrogance against him. Each teleport, each boast, each movement gives Lubbock the data he needs. And when Sayura tries to warp him into the sky to die alone, Lubbock springs the trap. A web of razor strings snaps shut, slicing through Sayura's body and sealing his fate. Sayura dies screaming, but victory comes with a price. Wounded and drained, Lubbock faces one last enemy, a guard who unleashes a deadly magical attack. Lubbock kills him too, but his strength fails. As he collapses, he thinks of an agenda, of Night Raid, of the life he wished he could have lived after the revolution. He smiles anyway. He did his part. While Lubbock falls, Tatsumi is overwhelmed by Great General Budo. The Empire drags him in chains to the capital. Minister Honest, delighted, plans a public execution to scare the rebels into submission. Kuromu watches with possessive fury, refusing to let anyone else kill him. And across the capital, Night Raid feels the tremor of tragedy. Another comrade gone, and Tatsumi seized by the enemy. The war enters its darkest hour. Episode 21. Kill the Despair. Tatsumi's capture shakes Night Raid to its core. Mine, who once pushed him away with sharp words and stubborn pride, now refuses to sit still while the Empire prepares to execute him publicly. Her determination ignites a chain reaction. Leone joins her, then Lubbock, and finally Najenda herself declares this a full emergency mission. Tatsumi isn't just a comrade to them anymore. He's family, and they won't let the Empire turn him into a spectacle. As dawn approaches, the execution square fills with citizens lured by propaganda and fear. As death stands before Tatsumi, conflicted yet unwavering. She confesses she wanted him to join her, to stand beside her in a world carved by her ideals. But Tatsumi rejects the Empire again, choosing death over becoming her weapon. Her twisted love turns cold. If he won't walk with her, she will prove his resolve by executing him herself. The Empire uses the event as a public display of power. Ministers preach loyalty, soldiers line the arena, and General Budo, the Empire's thunderous juggernaut, stands ready to annihilate any rebels who dare to interfere. But deep beneath the spectacle, explosives planted earlier by Lubbock ignite. The execution becomes chaos, and Night Raid surges in from the shadows. Their objective is simple: get Tatsumi out alive, or die trying. Mine and Leone break through the guards while Susanoo confronts Budo head-on. Lightning crashes against steel as the general unleashes his brutal imperial arms. Susanoo fights with discipline and pride, not as a tool, but as a warrior protecting his family. Meanwhile, Tatsumi struggles to escape as the battlefield erupts around him, dodging Esdeath's blade as she relentlessly pursues him with chilling affection. Mine pins Budo down using Pumpkin, pushing the weapon far beyond safe limits. The greater the danger, the stronger its firepower grows. And today, she faces a titan. As Budo advances with overwhelming force, Mine channels every ounce of fear, love, and desperation into a single decisive blast. The explosion tears through the Colosseum, finally bringing the Empire's great general to his knees. Enraged, Esdeath freezes the battlefield itself, stopping time and space to reclaim Tatsumi. But Susanoo sacrifices his very life force to counter her final attack. He unlocks Magatama mode, burning his existence away to hold her back. His final words are not commands, but gratitude. He calls Night Raid the only home he ever knew. With his last surge of power, he forces Esdeath to retreat, giving the others a chance to escape. Mine collapses in Tatsumi's arms, mortally wounded from pushing Pumpkin beyond its limit. She tries to laugh it off at first, teasing teasing him like always, but the pain in her eyes tells another story. She apologizes for crying, admits she wanted to stay by his side until the very end, and finally confesses what she never said aloud, that she fell in love with him. Tatsumi begs her to hold on, but she smiles softly, proud of the woman she became. Her life ends in his arms, leaving him screaming her name as the night swallows them both. Episode 22. Kill the little sister. Night Raid struggles with the weight of their losses. Tatsumi blames himself for Susanu's death, but Agenda reminds him that everyone made their choice, and their victory over General Budo was essential for the revolution. Still, the grief is suffocating. Those who survived now carry the wishes of the fallen, whether they're ready or not. Meanwhile, the Jaegers are crumbling under the pressure. Wave tries to believe the empire can still be reformed, but the nation collapses around them. Citizens rebel, the military fractures, and Kuromi's body weakens from years of drug abuse. She hides it behind cold determination, already preparing for the one thing that still matters to her, settling her score with Akame. Inside the palace, the young emperor panics as riots spread. Minister Honest manipulates him further, urging him to rule with an iron fist and crush the people rising against them. Blinded by fear, the emperor listens, unaware he's becoming the minister's final pawn as the empire rots from within. A message arrives for Night Raid, a dual challenge addressed directly to Akame. Agenda understands instantly. This is no trap, but a personal confrontation. Akame prepares to leave alone. Tatsumi tries to stop her, but she refuses. This is something only she can resolve. He makes her promise to come back alive, and she gives her word. Akame meets Kurome at the ruins of their old training grounds. Memories of their childhood return. Two sisters raised as weapons, forced to kill under the Empire's orders, clinging only to each other. But when Akame defected, Kurome shattered. She confesses she imagined killing her sister every day since, believing that only in death could they be together again. Their blades clash with years of grief behind them. Kurome summons undead warriors while Akame cuts through them, both fighting for the future they believe in. Wave arrives to protect Kurome, but Tatsumi holds him back. This is a battle of the heart, one only the sisters can finish. A danger beast attacks, and together the sisters defeat it. A brief reminder of who they used to be. Then they face each other one last time. The final exchange is fast and devastating. Akame's strike lands true. Kurome dies in her sister's arms, smiling softly as her suffering finally ends. Tatsumi catches Akame when she collapses, overwhelmed with grief. He promises she won't lose anyone else. But at the palace, Honest convinces the emperor to unlock the secret imperial arms passed down through royal blood. The final war approaches, darker and deadlier than anything before. Episode 23. Kill the Emperor. Tatsumi and the remaining members of Night Raid push forward into the heart of the collapsing empire, each step heavier than the last. They've survived countless battles, but now only 4 of them remain, and the endgame is finally in sight. The mission is simple but impossible. Cut down Minister Honest and shatter the corrupt regime that has poisoned the nation for generations. As Najenda sends them off with what sounds almost like a final farewell, the team steels themselves. This will be their last assignment, no matter the outcome. Their advance into the palace is interrupted when Run appears. A former teacher turned Jaeger, still loyal to his own ideals. He understands the empire is rotten, yet refuses to side with Night Raid, believing their violent revolution brings too much collateral suffering. His conflict with Tatsumi becomes a clash of philosophies as much as blades. Even so, he refuses to let them pass, forcing Tatsumi into battle while Akame and Leon push ahead. Meanwhile, within the palace, Minister Honest desperately reassures the young emperor that everything is under control. But the truth spills through the cracks. The empire is falling apart, the rebels are storming the capital, and the people have finally reached their breaking point. Still, Honest manipulates the child ruler, urging him to unleash the empire's forbidden trump card, the colossal imperial arms known as Primus Imperator. When Tatsumi reaches the battlefield again, the sky splits open as the towering machine rises over the capital. The young emperor, consumed by panic and blind loyalty, activates Primus Imperator with devastating force, crushing friend and foe alike beneath its colossal power. Tatsumi pleads with him to see the suffering he's causing, but Honest's poison runs too deep. The emperor lashes out, convinced he must preserve the empire at any cost. Wave joins the fray, revealing his own sense of justice. Not for the empire, not for the rebels, but for innocent people. Together, he and Tatsumi carve a path toward the Titan's weak point. With every blow, Tatsumi remembers the hopes of his fallen friends, the pain they endured, and the oath he swore to protect others. Even as Primus Imperator thrashes wildly, Tatsumi refuses to let the city be buried in its ruins. In a final desperate surge, Incursio evolves, pushing Tatsumi's body far past its limits. He tears into the massive weapon, forcing it away from the city as it collapses. The ancient soul inside the armor consumes him, but Tatsumi holds on long enough to save thousands of lives. When the machine finally falls, he falls with it, and the battlefield goes silent. As the dust settles, the Emperor is defeated. The Empire stands on the brink of total collapse, and Night Raid pays the ultimate price. Nagenda's forces move in to secure the capital. But for Tatsumi, the revolution ends here. His sacrifice becomes the spark that lights the path to a new world, one built not on fear, but on the hope he carried to his final breath. Episode 24. Akame ga Kill. Akame steps onto the final battlefield with a heart full of grief and a blade carrying the weight of every soul she's taken. Esdeath awaits her, unshaken, unfazed, eager. The Empire has fallen, but Esdeath refuses to accept peace. For her, war is purpose, bloodshed is meaning, and strength is absolute. Their clash erupts with overwhelming force, steel shrieking against steel as Esdeath freezes the ground, and Akame unleashes Murasami's deadly curse. Each blow is a question. Whose resolve will break first? Esdeath taunts her, calling the weak nothing more than livestock, fit only to grovel. Akame counters with everything she has. Not for glory, not for revenge, but for the countless people who wanted to live yet died under the Empire's cruelty. When words fail, she reveals her trump card, the demonic transformation that channels every soul Murasame has ever claimed. The curse envelops her, turning her into a living embodiment of all the suffering she carries. Even if it destroys her, she's ready, because ending Esdeath is the only path left. Their battle escalates to a fever pitch. Esdeath, thrilled by the fight, pushes her powers beyond their limits. Akame dances between afterimages, slicing through shards of frozen time itself. When Esdeath tries the same killing technique she used on Susanoo, Akame counters it with perfect timing, turning Esdeath's pride into her downfall. For the first time, Esdeath realizes she's been outplayed, not by brute strength, but by resolve deeper than she ever understood. Akame lands the decisive strike. Esdeath, mortally wounded, doesn't scream or curse. Instead, she smiles bitterly, accepting defeat, yet refusing to be taken by anyone. With her final breath, she freezes herself and Tatsumi's corpse together, choosing to die beside the only person she ever loved. When the ice shatters, she vanishes completely, leaving nothing behind but silence. Elsewhere, Leone corners Minister Honest, the man responsible for decades of suffering. He begs, lies, threatens, and even uses his imperial arms. But Leone tears through him anyway. Even after he breaks her body, she refuses to fall, beating him to death with her bare hands. Leone's wounds prove fatal, though she hides the truth. She walks back to the city, shares one last smile with her favorite tavern, and quietly slips away as the festival crowd cheers for peace she'll never see. The young emperor accepts his fate. He asks only that the new nation bring peace without bloodshed, and his final wish is honored. Najenda survives, though her body is failing, and dedicates her last years to rebuilding the country. As order returns, citizens begin rebuilding their homes, unaware of the sacrifices made in the shadows. Tatsumi's village waits for their heroes to return, dreaming of the day they'll welcome them home, not knowing most never will. Akame, now branded a criminal by the new government to protect the nation's stability, leaves on a solitary journey. Night Raid's name is erased from history, their deeds buried in silence. But Akame carries everything with her. Every battle, every death, every soul Murasame consumed. She walks into the unknown, determined to build a future where she can finally live for herself, even if the road is stained with the weight of her past. No matter where it leads, this is the path she chooses, to her destiny. In the end, this world of steel and shadows took everything from those who dared to fight for justice. But their will, their courage, and their sacrifices shaped a new dawn. Even in a story filled with loss, the spirit of Night Raid lives on, in every choice they made and in every heart they touched. Every heart. Akame ga Kill reminds us that true change is never easy, that heroes are not born. They are forged in pain, hope, and sacrifice. And even when the world seems lost, one spark is enough to ignite a revolution. If you enjoyed this full retelling, make sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe for more anime stories brought to life. Thank you for watching. And remember, even in the darkest worlds, there's always a reason to keep fighting. This was Akame ga Kill, a story that cuts deep and stays with you forever.